everybody. I'm doing a 60-minute session for a client. So I'm going to be sharing psychic wisdom and energy healing. If any of you are interested in checking out a session for yourself, you can do so at my website at abbynormalswisdomquest.com. All right, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with you today. And thank you for sharing with us here on YouTube. Really interesting. You're a really interesting person, and a lot of what you say reminds me of myself. So I'm curious to see what this looks like within yourself. I mean, I think we're going to discover a lot of cool things here. Okay, so let me read your goals out loud. I'm going to get started. So you say, "Hi, Abby. For years, I've been on a journey to heal myself. I practice energy healing myself, but I'm hitting a wall with it. I notice this energy demon within me that appears to me as an evil clown. I call it the Joker. I know that it is related to my eczema, skin condition, and probably also a host of other things I struggle with, such as OCD, childhood feelings of betrayal and being misunderstood by my parents, inner spirit of rebellion, and issues related to my gender identity, as well as an issue with attracting manipulation, power dynamics, and heartbreak in relationships. It's been challenging to heal because I feel fond of this energy in some ways. I see its potential to be repurposed for creative purposes, and I'm also really fond of clowns and feel a soul resonance with that archetype. However, I am frustrated because I want to heal these issues and this energy has not been cooperative. Recently, when I go inwards, I feel possessed by this energy and it flails around and says it wants to have its own life. That's fine with me, but at the same time, I worry that it is continuously stealing my energy and splitting my consciousness in order to do so. To me, it seems like this energy already is something greater than me and my own personal demon, because I keep synchronistically meeting people who also say they know an entity called the Joker." I just have to tell you, this is just so awesome. Okay. "It seems like there is a collective thing happening where there is some kind of new dark god in the process of ascending. I want to figure out the higher purpose of this energy in my life and reach the end of this seemingly never-ending saga so I can find some sense of boundary between me and the Joker, and we can have a relationship that is symbiotic rather than parasitic. Ultimately, what I want most is to heal the root cause of the things that ail me. P.S. I'm a left-handed path pagan, and my patron god is Lucifer, an ally we both have in common. Thank you, Abby." You know, it's so, okay, a million things. So I love clowns as well. And as a little kid, I had clowns all over my room, and I always felt that clowns were beautiful and they represented someone who was trying to cheer up someone else. So the clown is actually trying to make you smile, not trying to make you afraid or sad or withdraw. They actually choose this role to bring happiness to the world. So the clown is to bring happiness. I also resonate with kind of a demonic, silly person like the Joker, who you could say is an intelligence of its own kind, but also a destructive force as well. And the fact that you come across collective other people that resonate with this as well, it's a collective thing. It goes to show that we are all interconnected, and through each other we are living similar experiences, just variations a little bit differently, a little bit different ways, but we all can relate to each other. I mean, listening to myself read this out loud, it's almost like coming straight out of my own mouth. And even what you say at the end with Lucifer, there's a reason why we feel a connection with him. Oh man, there's just so much stuff. I feel moved even by your vulnerabilities or the things that you're working on, or the splitting up of the consciousness. Is, it's okay if this Joker wants to have an existence of its own kind, but I want to be free to have an existence of my own kind too, and I don't want to be harmed by anything parasitic. We can have a symbiotic relationship. So it's working through all this along with all these other details of what creates the vulnerability in your life, or things that you're attracted to that have created harm. I mean, it's so relatable. All right, I'm going to relax here. Where do we want to begin with this? The Joker, the clown archetype, your healing yourself process. Very interesting. So, a lot of energy just hits me from the back of my neck, and then it pops through my throat, and I start to cough. And simultaneously, I'm in a scene, and you're sitting down, and you're communicating with these basically like spheres, orbs, okay? They're orbs and like it looks like Coca-Cola without any bubbles in it, but more like a slime consistency, something squishy. And I see what's interesting about these orbs, their consciousness, is that you're not derailed by different energetic expressions. So you could say these orbs represent something negative. However, you wouldn't see it that way. You see these orbs represent creation or existence of this kind that they're exploring at this time. And so these orbs, this is where they're at with their own life path and soul journey. And so when you talk to them, it doesn't make you vulnerable. You're open-minded to any type of conversations with any type of spirits, okay? That's really incredible. This really well-developed view. I don't see the Joker in here as of yet. But you do feel a bit drained and tired, and you're still talking to these orbs in the Coca-Cola. It's kind of lacking. It's not on the level that you want to be surrounded by more personalities, more diverse personalities. But you also don't mind these personalities either. Just feels like something is lacking. But you're not letting go of them. I say, what if you are... This is going to sound a bit strange, so let me see if I can find the best way to explain it. We see this you, and you're communicating with these spirit consciousness and these varieties that are collectively connected to this Coca-Cola slime, okay? And it's not like you have to have the masters of the universe of the highest vibration, because you have decided at the soul level that you can learn something from every vibration of soul, and this is true because you can. Now, let's say this you is in the past, and your present you is still working in the past as this you, communicating with these spirit spheres, these orbs of consciousness. And so you are not caught up to date with yourself who has moved forward. Or you could say moved on from. And it's almost like you're not allowing yourself to let go of these. Maybe there's a reason why, like you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you're not here to say who you'd rather hang out with who, or something like this. When actually they aren't doing it for you, okay? These soul conscious actually aren't doing it for you. Therefore, if you offend them by moving on from them, that's not something you gave to them. That's something they decided inside themselves. You simply made the choice that was in the best interest for you, which wasn't a selfish choice, because you're wanting to grow to a higher vibrational plane and they aren't there yet. So you can't take them with you because only they can take themselves there. They can't go there with you because only they can take themselves there. So you're still in the past with these energies, okay? But you're also in the present, or you could say you've moved on, but you aren't caught up to date with that aspect of who you are. Because the lesson that you haven't adopted to learning is that it's like You're not offending anybody by doing what's best for you. And by saying you've outgrown these lower vibrations isn't an offensive thing to say, isn't a rude thing to say. It's like, I don't want to spend my time around those people because something about the way they talk or the way they think or the way they speak just doesn't jive with me. I feel like they're negative and they talk negatively and they hold on to the same topics, and it just doesn't jive with me. I feel like I've outgrown that, and I want to kind of open my door to people who are more lighthearted or whatever, okay? That is not an offensive thing to say. It's catching up with what it is that you actually want, okay? So you have to be honest and honor what it is that you actually want. Now, as I'm getting you caught up with yourself, now we see this nasty Joker energy, which this Joker is extremely insecure. It needs you. It needs you. And it's basically encouraging you to feel insecure so that you will remain at this vibrational space, because as soon as you move on, the Joker is alone. And the Joker does not know how to cope with hanging out with himself. It's just such an interesting concept because we're talking about the Joker. Like, I find myself to be so interesting, and the only company I need is me. Imagine the Joker finds the Joker's own self as the only entertaining person that the Joker wants to even spend time with is just himself. But the truth of the matter is the Joker is very insecure and doesn't enjoy just spending time with himself and needs you. But this Joker, I don't want to just call him a him, because this Joker is a dynamic duo of male and female energies. And you're also connected at the hip with this Joker, okay? So as soon as you go there, the Joker helps you to see that you've never left, you're never gonna leave. Now, do we want to go into the dark side of this? I mean, this could go extremely dark. It feels like it needs to, because we need to honor and we need to evaluate this from the depths of its most disturbing sides. Otherwise, we're kind of holding our breath. Like, we're going to resolve everything except the most disturbing side of this. That's the one thing we need to resolve first. Okay, it's going to get really gross. You're basically like Siamese twins attached at the hip. You both share the same genitalia, okay? But then you have two different tummies and, upper bodies. It's the same legs, hips. But then from there, you're two at the top, okay? So sometimes you have the Joker down and then you are screaming at the Joker, okay? So you're on top screaming in his face. But what's interesting, there's a sacral chakra connection here. There's a sexual energy connection here. And you two do not know how to be as individuals. You work together as one, but in a way long to be two. And you don't know how to become two, even though you are basically two. You're still combined at the hip, okay? And you're lovers as well. You're lovers. I expected this to go even darker, but it's not diving into that depth. And vibrationally, the disturbing and twisted laughter type isn't coming forward at this time. It's still quite practical, on a level of practicality than humor, okay? This is going to become the gross part because I'm merging you two together as one body. And it makes you both feel sick to your stomachs. And you both say that your goal is for you both to have your own freedom from one another. And I say that's not working out so well for you, is it? And that's when you both get a little bit snarly about that statement. And I say there is no two, there's only one here. And it's true. It's actually vibrationally true. You have to work together as one. You have to. And it's a bit barfable because you've worked so hard to develop two unique identities, but you're always going to be attached at the hip and dealing with conflict with one another. That's not actually bettering you both. It's bettering you when you learn how to work together as one, okay? I actually feel that you have the say in all of this, and the Joker does not. You actually have all the say in this. Something feels a bit muddy about you yourself. I don't know how to expand on what that means just yet, but it's almost like maybe the congestion of how life has made you feel maybe less than your brightest capacity, you know? So it just feels muddy, like mud in the hose, and it's not helping the water flush it out. It's just mud in the hose. And my goal here is to actually get you two to merge as one in a healthy way where you feel safe as one energy body, and then to reach the next level of your present self. Because at all times and in all versions of the present, you are at all dimensions of vibrational self-empowerment, okay? And so as we go through these lessons, we have these epiphanies that actually upgrade us and we move up the ladder of the present day self. And sometimes we avoid catching up with our own growth and development because we just aren't ready yet to let go of something for whatever reason. I don't want to move on from these spirits because I'm not a judgmental person, and I'm not going to say that they aren't worthy people to talk to. They matter too. And it's like, but you actually, the truth is, you're saying deep down inside, the truth is that you don't really enjoy talking to them anymore. And so then stop talking to them. Admit it. Just admit that. It's okay to admit that. It's like, it's okay to admit things that seem out of like balance with your character, to admit something that's out of balance with your character because it would mean this or that or the other thing, and that's not really who I am. Admitting this is actually going to get you caught up with your present day self so that you can actually reflect on this and with a new pair of eyes, okay? We're reverting back to you yelling at the Joker and the sexual connection at the hips, okay? This is complicated. Because as you yell, his smile gets larger and larger, and it starts to look like that big jokery smile, you know what I mean? And then as you yell into his face and his smile gets bigger and bigger and bigger, he starts to send what can only be described as geometric shapes. And he sends geometric shapes into your face, okay? And then when those geometric shapes go into your face, you start to calm down and relax. And you don't really relate to what your original behavior was. And you just lay down and you say, what are we doing? What is this anyway? And in a way, you want to give him a chance to do some of the decision making. it doesn't seem like he necessarily wants to create evil or harm, but he's got a bit of a side smile, like a side sense of self that may be extremely, extraordinary, cleverly clever, like a Loki type. Like, you don't know how many moves ahead of the game he is, and by letting him make decisions, you're going to be bound to whatever his inspiration is, and that could be not in your favor as far as where you want to go and where you want to take your own life, and into a brighter place. I'm getting a little bit, I would just say, bored of being in this dim environment, because I would really like to go to someplace extremely bright in the interior of its existence, somewhere that on the inside of itself is very bright. And I want you and the Joker to come with, and that we could talk in a very bright and harmonious environment. But it's almost like you're imprisoned. You can't ever leave this gray area. It's like the mud in the hose, you know? You can't ever leave it. So, and I'm going to have to figure this out. Talking to my guides right now because I want to explore two different viewpoints. I want to explore separating you both. Okay, just separated you both. Vibrationally, it says you need to work together as one. No amount of anything else is going to be achieved here, because it was divinely decided that you would have to eventually merge as one, okay? And you'd have to work together as one. But I'm going to start by allowing you to be two in basically a reality where we can explore that idea, okay? It doesn't go very far. As two, it's like you both become confused as to where your legs are and who runs the show and whose legs are being used this time. And oh, it's your legs. Oh no, it's your legs. So you're still acting like you need each other. Even when I separate you into two, instantaneously, you're both confused about whose legs are doing the walking. And you don't know how to handle it, so you have to merge your legs together in order to figure out how to walk forward. And I feel like it's very dangerous to explore this as you're two separate people is actually the wrong direction. Vibrationally going to make this sick and ill versus mending and growing and healing. All right, so let's put you in the same space as you're going to work together as one, and I'm going to put you both together. So your two top halves are just going to be one body, and let's see how that works. Joker does not like sharing a face with you, hates it. Refuses to look in the same direction as you, will be the back of your head, basically. No, I'm not allowing it. Come on now. See, when I get both your faces merged as one, your body merged as one, your legs are like, your hips are going around and around in a circle, and your legs are like, never stop moving. So I can't get you to be still as one, okay? You gotta keep working on this. Ask my guides, what other way could we approach this? I'd like to move beyond here to look at some other things, but I have to stay here still. So let's see what comes next, okay? The reason why is because, again, I feel bored of the mud. It's boring. And I feel that is you saying, I am bored of this kind of vibrational space and I'm ready to move on to something brighter. But that energy of that Joker is still holding you in this space, but yet you're the one that makes all the decisions. So why does the Joker decide that you have to be in this space? Is it possible to leave him behind and you ascend without him and he stays in the dark? Is that a possibility? I feel like that's very dangerous as well. Because when I see that the Joker is left here and you get caught up with your present day self, I see that that is the greatest goal, is to be left behind to do whatever he wants. And what he wants to do is not what you would want to do. Because he's his own guy, he insists that he's his own guy. But he doesn't want to help anybody. He wants to hurt everybody and hurt himself. And so there's only insanity here. It's basically insanity. I'm going to ask your higher self, how do you want me to move forward with this? Your higher self says we will have to splice this into basically 6, 9, 12. Like, start to splice this into actually rectangular prisms. Lots of rectangular prisms. And they're splicing this into many realities, okay? We're going to keep making this more and 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 more. We're never going to stop. So there's going to be infinite splicing going on, but there's also going to be infinite atoms. So I'm choosing to see you as two separate, but I'm choosing to see all of your atoms, and it's just infinite atoms, infinite rectangular prisms, infinite spaces. This is causing everything to get very exhausted and drained and feel disconnected with reality, confused as to where it is, and basically lost. All of this consciousness between you and the Joker is becoming so watered down and lost. It's like what was a concentrated drop gets put into the river and becomes the river now, and it's just lost in the river as just a drop lost in the river. Like, this was once had blue dye and it was this super blue color, and then it went into the river and just became part of all the other drops. And so it's so diluted that there's no real separation, there's no real identity, there's no real definition of any sort here. You're watered down and you've become lost. All right, higher self, what comes next? Higher self wants me to stay in the experience of you are lost. You've become lost, a lost soul. We're staying in this energy that you are lost because it's building something up in your emotional gut that's new. And you could say that you are lost for a very, very long time, like 1,000,000 years. When you're lost for that long, you lose your identity and you don't know who you are anymore. At this dimensional space, you don't have any identity. You're just completely lost. You don't even know what you are red or blue or up or down or human or an animal. It doesn't matter. You're just a whatever. We need to become undefinable, even in consciousness, even at the soul level, at this dimensional space. The higher that you go dimensionally, the more aware of everything you are. So if you become this way at a conscious level where you just are undefinable at, let's say, the third dimension, then where does your soul exist? If it's been watered down or it's expanded out or it doesn't really define itself as anything, it just becomes part of the ethers, you know? But this is all going to formulate back at some point. But let's just keep watching and see what your higher self wants to do next. Part of this is also to honor a part of yourself that wants to spend some time in the I don't exist realm. So when you merge with the I don't exist realm, you become watered down in nothing and you forget yourself. You'll be lost for all time, okay? Until an event which awakens you to the next thing. But this is going to be eternity, so there's going to be no concept of when this happened or when this stopped happening. It could be a blink of an eye that is expanded out to 1,000,000 years here on Earth or whatever, but it's still going to feel like time. It actually is healing for you to have time in the I don't exist dimension. Doesn't matter if there's a joker or not, or if there's a you, or if there's a somebody else. It doesn't matter because everybody here doesn't exist. All the souls that come here don't exist anymore. They become a part of an ether of some kind. They just don't exist anymore. You're not there yet. You're still sleeping. You're still basically, you could say, deleted, although you're not. It just gives you the framework or the illusionary experience of having been removed from existence. Even if nothing gets deleted in the infinite universe, so you can't be removed or you can't be deleted or you can't be disintegrated or you can't be forgotten about. But it's going to be experienced like that. All right, I'm going to catch up with your higher self because I'm going to leave you there. And I'm going to go back to your higher self because I want to let this go for a while. I want to go to something new. It takes a very, very long time for me to get to your higher self. It's like I have to fly forever through the weirdest pathway to get there. It's like your higher self likes to create the experience of having to work very hard to get to something that you really want. And so that way, when I finally reach your higher self, I will feel a sense of joy that wouldn't exist unless I had to work ridiculously hard to get to your higher self, so that I will value the time more. This is really unique. It's not often like this to get to people's higher selves. So your higher self has got a unique thing going on here, okay? I'm telling you, my soul's exhausted. I feel like this has taken me forever. I feel like I'm so exhausted and worn thin. I started to wonder if I was going in the right direction or if I'd ever get to your higher self, or that, like, all this illusion took place. But I had to know what I wanted, and I had to not give up on what I wanted in order to finally get to what I wanted. And so something of this message is important to you, to know what you want. And no matter how long it takes and what you have to go through or how you lose your way along the way, don't stop. Don't stop. If it is something you really want, keep putting one foot in front of the other to get there with it, okay? I actually have to sleep for a while once I finally get to your higher self. I know I'm an infinite soul, infinite light, should never get tired. There's a reason why it's showing it like this. I'm completely exhausted to the point I can't even talk to your higher self. I'm too exhausted to even talk to your higher self. And I've got all these like sneaky ways of overriding everything, but they're not going to let me. It's like, okay, I'll just let this me sleep and I'll override it and move some other part of my consciousness in here to talk to your higher self. But your higher self's like, no, I want to talk to the you that is just brutally exhausted on the path to try to get to me. And when that you decides that it wants to wake up and talk to me, then I want to talk to you too. And that you deserves that time and attention. And for you to override it, Abby, isn't necessarily honoring this other you. And I tell your higher self, well, it is me. It's totally honoring that me. Because we're one. We're all one. And that me is eventually going to catch up with this other me and thank me and is going to remember everything that happened. Now your higher self says no. That the original me is the only me he's going to talk to. Okay. So I'll let that me sleep. You are in the I don't exist anymore realm with the Joker. And now what do we do? Let me see what comes next, okay? Let's go to Archangel Lucifer, shall we? There's a lot of sound here. And it's kind of a cliche a bit. It sounds like a hell. It sounds like a blacksmith in hell, okay? Like making the fire rumble and clanking on things to make swords or weaponry or something of this kind. Maybe it's just horseshoes. They're making hellish horseshoes. We don't know. But it sounds like a blacksmith working away in sort of some inlet of hell, okay? And I see Lucifer is hard at work. And he doesn't stop. And I can tell he's exhausted. He's talking to me about something that... How do you... he says, he holds up this horseshoe. Is it a horseshoe or is it an orange? And he says, just because it sounds like a blacksmith and we're in a furnace of hell and I'm Archangel Lucifer, you know, can't I be just enjoying an orange while somebody else is banging and clanging away on something? Maybe this is all about oranges. It's more than this. It's more than this. It's about when people are so convinced of something, how do you help them to see it never had anything to do with that? It always had everything to do with oranges. When very few people will ever agree, because people are so convinced by the initial details that it could never be about anything else but that. And I say, okay, what does this have to do with my client? We're just paused. There's just kind of a silent exchange right now, so I don't really know what's being said here. I'm supposed to bring in an aspect of your consciousness now into this space, and then you get to talk to him and say what you want to say. What do you want to say? You say thank you to him. You say thank you to Archangel Lucifer for giving us blacksmiths and oranges and complicated concepts that we have a hard time understanding. And thank you. It's almost like for not making it easy on us, that we could be strong enough and that we could develop awareness and grow. And that you don't ever want to be in a way superficial, or you want to continue to develop your depth and the way that you translate things to be of an even deeper level. And I see that when you say this, there's an exhaustion to that process, always wanting to go deeper. It's easy to go to a higher vibration, you say, than it is to go deeper. It's interesting because I've come to the conclusion that if you are somebody who's attracted to going deeper, you'll find it is actually harder to go in the other direction. And it's appropriate to become expanded on both sides so you're balanced. So you need to challenge yourself to go to the high vibrational bright places. It's almost like it's easy to say that it's easy to go there, but when you spend so much time in the depths and in the dark, it's actually hard to leave it because it feels like the depths of something more meaningful than things just being easy and having everything come to you and you don't have to work for anything and we can just be happy now. See, Archangel Lucifer looks different because he's growing his hair in a way that it looks very kind of coarse or dried out. It looks like he's aging substantially. He's a mix between a man and a woman. And I can't really tell who he is. I can't tell who he is. He has no identity. He's not even an Archangel Lucifer. I don't even know who or what he is. And what he's saying is, where would I pinpoint this face to belong? Where would this persona exist? In this hellish blacksmith space, this nameless old half man, half woman, where would I exist in balance or harmony in our type of world? I say, I'm going to see you in Walmart is getting groceries. Doesn't work for some reason, doesn't compute. Because we're talking about depth. And the only place that this persona actually makes the most amount of sense is in the middle of the forest, like a witch type. That very few people would ever cross paths with this person, and if they did, they would be gifted with some type of extraordinary wisdom. There's no harm in this person. They just represent something that is different. So we're talking about depth and someone who is different as you. And there's no harm in you. And where do you fit in? Where's the most appropriate place for you? Is it in the I do not exist space? Because Archangel Lucifer is saying no. It is in the I do exist space. And you are worthy of existence. You are worthy of presence. Makes me feel emotional. It's like, where would somebody that doesn't fit in ever fit in? Where would they ever fit? Where would they ever make sense? I'm going to wake up now and talk to your higher self. And I don't look right. I look like I'm made out of spheres. Kind of like the beginning, but I'm made out of limes and lemons, okay? And I'm just kind of awkwardly positioned together into some sort of blobulous form that's sort of sitting on a bed, talking to your higher self. And is this me or is this you? Let's say this is you talking to your higher self, that it took a very long time and a lot of exhaustion to finally reach your higher self, who made it complicated, who made it hard, so that by the time you finally got there, that you would value this more than anything else, that it would be a triumphant moment, and you'd be worthy of this for all your hard work. Your higher self says nothing. I'm standing at this door and I'm knocking, like, hello, can I come in? Can I come in, please? It's like I feel like the need to interrupt this conversation between you and your higher self to simply say that I still feel like there's mud in the hose. I just can't stop noticing that. Does anybody else notice that here? I just feel like we need to do something about it. I just am like aimless wanderer to get to this like location that's impossible to get to. Just aimlessly walk in this profound moment to talk about this again. I don't know why I have to say it. Okay. You both start laughing hysterically. I say there has to be, I don't know, maybe it's too serious or something. Like, there has to be something, like, happy. Maybe that's where the clown archetype comes in. This is what clowns truly represent. It's something kind of silly and out of the ordinary, a little unorthodox, but happy. You know, it clears the air of seriousness and exhaustion and disconnect and I don't exist anymore dimensions and things like that, you know? It's like cutting the air like a hot knife to butter, you know? It's just like the air gets too thick with seriousness sometimes. We need to kind of lighten the mood. And your higher self welcomes me in completely, and we sit down at a round table, just a little one with 3 chairs. And we talk about you and this other half. And it's like your other half is in there. And I see you both as 2, but I see you as 1. Your higher self wants you to acknowledge what you already know. And when I hear him say that he wants you to acknowledge what you already know, I hear that something deep down inside knows the power of patience and that there is a key to all of this that will come full circle and that you're doing everything right. And perhaps there's a little bit of a low-key mystery because we haven't hit all the buzzers and the bells yet with how this all works or how this all comes together, how this all happens. And maybe it has to go through this mysterious path for a little while. Mm-hmm. You say that you're tired and that you don't like you're tired and you want this to wrap itself up already. Like, we want to wrap it up. Your higher self grows into a really like ultra hot kind of, he looks like Hellboy, and then he hits you right across the face, and there's two of you inside, and you go ding, like you're like a bell somehow, and when he hits you across the face, you kind of go over, and it's like ding inside your head. And let me see what this means. I understand. I go and become a third person inside the two of you. And I become what can only be described as like a mortar for the brick. And I take a really deep inhalation. And when as I take an inhalation, I inhale into your mouth. And then I help you both meld together through what can only be described as somebody who cares. Somebody who cares will help you meld all of this together. And it helps you to feel comfortable with each other because you always did. You always did feel comfortable with each other. And the power that's going to take place when your two minds are working together as one is incredible. And for you to be in the I don't exist world doesn't compute anymore. It actually is your presence that is going to move mountains for you. It's your presence that is going to move mountains for you. The presence of who you are. And this wasn't some easy go. This was exhausting and complicated and disconnected and far away, and I don't exist, and all of these other things, going deeper and deeper and deeper into your own personal hell space to understand true love. To understand true love is this internal journey that is really complicated and exhausting and hard. And maybe it causes you to be further and further away from the average human, the everyday person, but that's what makes meeting you such an extraordinary event. Because you went the path that very few people would walk to become this genuine one of a kind. And it's almost like showing me that the depths of who you are is the heights of who you are. Because that caliber will be translated and understood. When people meet you. Some things taking place here. It's just, it's impacting chakras above my crown chakras, like soul star chakra, but feels higher than that. And it's impacting the back of my head and throat. I feel exhausted. I feel like a major change in my head, my whole head, and my energy head is taking place. I feel the melding of the two forms. Feel exhausted. You really are safe with the legs. You share the legs and the hips. You feel safe with that. And it's very strange to share the upper body and the head. Because you have to count on each other. And then that stops existing as well, and you just are one. and you can work as one. And I ask your higher self, so where do we go from here? Higher self wants you to ask the question. You see what you say. You speak silently to your higher self, and your higher self speaks silently back, but tells you that the weights that are holding you in the depths are what you need to let go of so that you can expand to your great height. Because you're much taller than this. So you're holding yourself into the abyss when you are actually, your feet and then are in the abyss and your head is in this like sunny place, like, but your whole body is everywhere. And you need to let go of the weights that are not allowing you to exist in all places simultaneously. And that you will understand what that means. And letting go of the Joker is not the correct choice. As in, you are one. That's all there is. But there's actions taking place that are, it's almost like causing you to be weighed down where you don't need to be. And so let those weights go. Because you don't, it's kind of like this concept of you don't owe anybody anything. You don't have to ask for forgiveness for being yourself. You don't have to, you have to make decisions for what's best for you, even if that doesn't make sense to others. And then you have to let them live with their own emotional relationships with you. And don't hold that against them either. So you can grow. You can grow for you. And I just feel like the Joker doesn't exist anymore. Because that was a way to identify it so that it would still have an existence. So you yourself have to let go of it. There is no Joker anymore. And you could say, but there is though, always has been. I communicate with this part of myself regularly. That's when you're going to catch up with the next version of who you are. And in that space, to get you to grow to your great height, there is no Joker anymore, okay? There is no Joker anymore. And the only clown archetype is the one that makes you feel like laughing from your heart. And that is who you are. You can break up that seriousness and you can bring joy into the world. Because you understand the depths of what it is to be human. To the point that you could love even the darkest characters. Because you can see the value in creation itself. Which is a beautiful and extraordinary gift that you are to the world. It's not easy to be that kind of person. You're really understanding this conversation because you feel whole inside. You do. You feel whole in a positive way. And that's where the mud is not in the hose anymore. When you feel whole in a positive way and you're really owning who you are as a wholeness, it cleanses your whole spirit and it allows you to just have fun and be lighthearted, but be you and really admire who you are. All right. I'm going to just step back and look at the total you for a minute, and let's just see what you look like, okay? I don't even relate to anything we saw in the beginning. Doesn't relate to where you are now with your energy field and your growth and development. And now I can actually help to remind you of the beauty of these high vibrational places, and they're just as precious as the deeper places. They're just as precious, and we need to enjoy them too. We need to enjoy them too. It's like there's time for work and there's time for play. But if the only thing we ever did was just stay in the work or just stay in the play, we would be out of balance, right? But we need to be balanced in both because we are a part of both. So you also need to be a part of the light side of who you are and bring that into harmony. And then see who you are after you do that, you know? So I'm allowing you to open your eyes in the present day, you, so that you can see the next vision of your path and vision of yourself, so you can be introduced to the next version of you that you're going to be exploring in your life. Do you see where we're at in time and with your growth? Like, oh my gosh, so much has happened here. It's really full of light, but it's also full of cloud, and the cloud is shining very bright, so you can't really see or interpret anything that's around you. And you start to feel a bit strange, like kind of weak, like you haven't spent enough time in these brighter places, that it's almost harder to see clearly here. But there's very memorable soulmates here in these bright places. And right now you interpret them kind of more like ghosts than real beings. I know we're in an energy space, so to us humans, they'd be ghosts anyway. But in this energy space, in this density, you're a density. And so all these soulmates are the same density, but you're interpreting them more like ghosts, like wisps. They're not really there with you. But that's because you haven't taken enough time to be here, be present in these other spaces, in the more playful spaces. One of them is it's a woman, and she has a wavy, really thick, wavy, dark brown hair, and she has tan skin, and she's wearing a very light purple dress, and she has no shoes on. And she's walking through the glowing clouds, and you start to feel a bit of an anger towards her, and a gouge comes out of the side of your body, actually. And you start to feel a bit of like a rabid dog sort of developing on the inside of you, and you can sniff her out, and you just start barking at her. But she sees what a wounded path you've taken, and that you need time for somebody to take care of you. And so she touches you on the head, and she says, you have nothing to be afraid of here. I feel like this is a reflection of how love might have hurt you in this lifetime as a human being. We count on love, we know what love is, but then love goes around behind our back and says things that aren't nice, or that blatantly hurts us or attacks us to our face, or family wasn't able to love us the way we knew we deserved to be loved, and we feel let down by love, like love abused us. So it's safer to be in a dark place than it is to be in a bright place where we're exposed to love, where love could abuse us again. And so post-traumatic stress, right, of love's abuse, which means it never was love. It never was love, and therefore love never abused you. So we have to get caught up to date with that truth. And that's how you're going to start to grow in the brighter realms, because you yourself are love that wouldn't hurt another in this way. And that is love that is still working on growing, that's afraid of going into the depths of who they are. So you can be genuinely understanding, but you have to start to trust in love again. You have to start to trust in love, and that love is going to be there to help you and support you genuinely. What she does is she makes you smaller, okay? But she places you in your heart and you inside of her heart where she can hold you safe, close to the warmth and the sunlight, that she can carry you and that she can keep you safe and that you could feel taken care of by somebody who loves you, genuinely loves you. And she asks this part of you to rest. Man, incredible progress here. Thank you so much. That was an intense session. That was interesting. Thank you so much for sharing who you are with us in this experience. And I wish you a wonderful day. I wish all of you, thank you so much for watching and your kind comments of support of my clients. I wish everybody a wonderful rest of their day. Bye for now.